Ravel's Gaspar de la Nuit. You're listening to Castaway's Choice. Our Castaway is writer-director Joel Oliansky. Joel, which part of the country did you grow up in?
In Brooklyn.
Were you born there?
Yes. Yes. Brooklyn Jewish Hospital.
So how many years was Brooklyn home to you?
Till I was about 11 or 12, and then we moved out to Long Island, which was the common fate of Jewish people in my generation. It was either there or the Bronx.
What do you remember of Brooklyn as a young person?
The fact that only the dead know it. I think Thomas Wolfe is right. You grew up in a neighborhood, and with all the years I lived in Brooklyn, I haven't a clue as to what the rest of it is like, because the neighborhood was so self-contained. What I knew much better than Brooklyn was Manhattan, because my mother took me there as often as she could, and I guess in an effort to get me off the streets or whatever, and seeing I had no musical ability, I had no artistic ability, put me in dramatic school, where none of that was immediately apparent. My lack of ability was not apparent. So I found myself on the subway to Manhattan quite often, and I knew that city rather well at a fairly young age.
Do you come from a large family?
No, just one sister.
And is she in the business?
Yes, as a matter of fact, she's a very successful literary agent, not mine, which should probably accounts for her success. Her name is Lynn Plachette.
And what were your parents doing at the time?
My father was a pharmacist, and my mother was a lady who had gone to a teacher's training school when very young, and walked into her first class, took one look at it, they took one look at her, and she decided to marry and have children. And then when her children were a bit older, she went back to college. She went to City College of New York, which had a terrific drama department, which helped arouse my interest. She was a rather accomplished actress and got into a number of productions there, and also got her bachelor's and master's degree, became a high school teacher, which is how she ended.
Did you enjoy your childhood?
No, not particularly. Not particularly. It wasn't idyllic. We were on the fringe of a rather Irish neighborhood, and it was difficult to walk to school every day, and wasn't much fun when I got there. I don't remember it as being all that terrific in many particulars, no.
There was quite a bit of discrimination going on.
Oh, well, you looked for it. I mean, you didn't have to. Those neighborhoods were pretty self-contained, and if you didn't look for trouble, you probably wouldn't find it, but we had this tendency to look for trouble. On the other hand, we used to go into the black neighborhood on Fulton Street and go to the movies there all the time, and there was never a feeling that there would be trouble. It was a different time. It was much more trouble between Irish kids and Jewish kids than between black kids and the rest and white kids.
Chosen Mozart, The Marriage of Figaro.
My parents, my family, I should say, had one season ticket to the old Metropolitan Opera, and it sort of made the rounds of the family. And by the time I was old enough to use it, everybody else was burned out. So I got to go very often, every Thursday night, quite often, season after season. And I found, however, 19th century notwithstanding, that my two favorite operas were both operas that were featured not tenors but basses. In this case, Cesare Siepi. One was Boris Godunov, which I heard as many times a season as I could, and the other was, I think, maybe the single greatest work ever committed to paper, Mozart's Marriage of Figaro, and maybe the single greatest part of that, the second act, is what I chose. And when shows like this were originally constituted, I know the idea was to take a recording, meaning one side, but nowadays people cheat, so I don't know how much of this I can take. But if I can only take some of it, I would take this second act ensemble of The Marriage.
Senza schiamazzi, di non giunque quel che par Promesso matrimonio con la stanza di Dadaso.